And so it's happening. You know, there's a company called Loop. There's a company called Scout, and that's exactly what they do. But it's an observation of another market that you translate and say, oh, that's pretty neat. I'll give one last example. Which I think could relate to things in Bulgaria. So we also have an investment in this company called Via, which is this travel agency in India. One of the things in the Indian market is credit card penetration is low, and so it's and so in most other parts of the world, many other parts of the world, you can put up an online travel site and people can go online and buy an airline ticket, buy a rail ticket using their credit card. Well, if people don't have credit cards, you can't do that. And so, but I think similar to here, there's a lot of small merchants. People who have little shops that sell cigarettes and drinks everywhere. And so what they did is they basically said, well, let's connect all of these people. And they have some 3,000 of them in all the big population centers who basically have a terminal and an internet connection. And then somebody wants to book a travel ticket, they go to their local, what they call banwalas, but their local cigarette guy, give them cash. That person goes online, books the ticket for them, takes his cash, and uses his account. So you've taken the problem of trying to get, 500 million people, trying to get credit cards to 500 million people, to give them credit cards to 3,000 people. But it's another very local market issue that you don't see unless you look at it from their eyes, but now becomes replicable in other parts of the world. So we'll come back to this because I actually want to get into a little bit of a conversation about some of the things that make Bulgaria unique and how is it that the things that make Bulgaria unique create interesting businesses that address those problems that you would only see by being here. And earlier today we were talking about this over coffee. We're talking about there's artifacts of socialism, right? Of the value of being connected to people, to some extent being as valuable as currency. And so what does that mean? How does that translate into interesting businesses? So that's an example. Right? We were talking about leaders and followers. That there isn't a lot of followers. We're talking about Twitter. Not a lot of people don't follow others, or people want to be followers of others, and people aren't very individualistic. That's another unique aspect that we're trying to think about what that means for a business. So back to my map. So that was reason 2. Reason 1 was the moon. Reason 2 is local. The things that are unique to a local market. And so reason 3, and I think reason 3 is a newer reason, is that all of a sudden, in the last 5 years, everybody anywhere in the world has the same access to the same distribution channels that somebody in any other part of the world has. What I mean by that is that the internet's ultimately connected. Everyone has access to Google, to Facebook, to Twitter, etc. Everyone can market using these channels, and everyone can reach customers using these channels. That previously was very restricted to being in one geography, because you had to be someplace, you had to hire salespeople, you had to go out and sell, you had to market. So that's unique, and you'll see examples of that, right? So you may know of a company called Rovio, right, which makes this little game called Angry Birds. You shoot birds at pigs, and they go splat, and next thing you know, you've sold 10 billion of these, and you've made tens of millions of dollars. Does anyone know where that company is based? Yeah, it's in the Nordic. It's in Finland. And why didn't that come out of EA, Electronic Arts in Silicon Valley, or Sega, or Zynga, or any of these other companies? They just had a better product. It was simple, it was easy, it was compelling, and they had the same access to the Apple App Store. They had the same access to all the distribution channels that anyone else in the world has, and they just out-executed. And now they have a great company around them. And so that's an example of how democratized the internet and the distribution of marketing is. And that's, I think, one of the other reasons why investors spend time in other parts of the world is because it doesn't have to be a single geography that drives innovation. It can be anyone, because anyone has access to the same markets. The last thing I want to talk about is the other implication of this point, which is that in most parts of the world, there's an evolution of skill sets to get to a successful company. And the evolution typically starts with engineers, very good, strong engineers, which is great, but it's not enough to make a great company. The next step is product, right? So you take engineers and you say, well, now we've gotten some really good skills around creating really great products. And it's different than just engineering, because there's a user design element, there's a focus on experience that comes with product. There's understanding what it is that gets people to engage. It's different than features and functions. And so that's, I look at a place like Singapore, and Singapore is about there right now. They had really strong engineers, have now added product capability. And so some things are starting to be interesting. The last piece you need is marketing, and really good skills and skill set in marketing, which doesn't have to be, it can come from other organizations, other parts of the ecosystem. When you have that third piece, that's when I think all of a sudden things start to pop. You've got engineers, product, and marketing, and so now you have the technical competency, you can build something that a consumer really wants, and you know how to market and sell it. And it takes a little bit of time for all those to evolve. And I'd be curious also to hear where everyone thinks skill sets lie, and how, what you can do to add piece 2 and certainly piece 3 to make sure that there's lots of really successes. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that wasn't more than 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm happy to talk about anything. The two things that I'd love to get people's opinions are one, what you think makes Bulgaria unique, and how you think, what it is about the people, the economy, the business environment, the social environment, that you think are truly unique, because I think that helps power what it is that allows you to differentiate and be really successful. So that's where I'd love to kick it off and see what people's thoughts are there, and then we can just go from there into anything else anyone wants to talk about.
Guys, any questions? Or firstly, if anyone has an interesting opinion on what makes Bulgaria unique compared to other European countries.
Hi, I'm Max. One of the things, I'm not Bulgarian myself, so one of the things that I noticed very much in Bulgaria is the power of recommendations. In Bulgaria, I have a feeling that a lot of people, basically you can divide the population in two, and one half thinks about the other one that they're assholes, and they don't believe them. This goes down to politics, to business. I've noticed in many walks of life. So what you see is that for Bulgarian companies, especially small, medium-sized enterprises, marketing is way less important than word of mouth. People recommend services, companies to each other. So my observation, someone who hasn't been in for a long time, is that is something which even though Bulgaria is a small market, there's a lot of potential for recommendation-driven services.
I just add, recommendations are marketing.
Right.
Yeah.
Sumeet, we didn't send a man on the moon, but we sent 2 in space.
Okay, that's good.
Still, we're a small market, so concentrating on the uniqueness of Bulgarians and building a business on top of this still doesn't make too much sense for tech companies. But as you said, Finland is probably a smaller market than Bulgaria. But what I've noticed from my sort of experience is that Bulgarians, based on their decent education, tend to transform new technologies into products very quickly, since somebody tells them what exact products they shall build. So this is one of the strength points of Bulgarians. They handle very quickly front-end requirements, if I can put it that way. So probably that's why the outsourcing business is so successful. We shall think of a way to transform this virtue into a successful business. I mean, getting some technology that somebody else has invented and dressing it up into a product. This is what I think is one of the unique and strong points of Bulgarians.
By the way, I should clarify, I don't necessarily mean unique in terms of serving the Bulgarian market, but the unique capability that helps you differentiate what you're offering either to the rest of the world or that you're learning about how you tackle something in the local market that no one else quite looks at the same way internationally. But anyhow, so that's a great example of that, which is that there's a swiftness of taking idea to product quickly.
From the IT and entrepreneurs house here.
So, I've been here for 12 hours. So I don't have, I guess I feel like first impressions take longer than that. But it's, I get the sense that there is a very strong technical engineering capability. There's a lot of really smart engineers here. And I get the sense that there's a lot of desire to really do big things, but the next step isn't quite clear. There's a lot of people that aren't quite sure what the next step is.
Hi, I can definitely confirm that I think also Bulgaria has a strong technological function. People are programmers and mathematicians by heart.
Sure.
I think we have won the last couple of years, every year, the worldwide Olympics of mathematics and informatics. I mean, China even is second or in third or whatever.